A warm welcome to Hawkeye Nation. I'm Corey Brada here from the Hawkeye of the Storm, recapping the Iowa women's basketball team's 74-61 victory in the second round of the Big Ten tournament. And I'm joined by a fan favorite here on the platform. It's Kachine Alexander, former All Big Ten guard and Hawkeye star Kachine Alexander, in a new environment. You're all moved in your new place, Kachine. You're feeling cozy. You're feeling a bit snuggy on.
Wouldn't go that far. Still got some stuff to do, hence why I am in my bed right now, because my desk and everything else is not up. So
that's okay. That's all right.
One thing at a time.
There's nothing like settling into a new place, but with a postseason win for your Hawkeyes. And this team's feeling pretty good right now. I don't think this was their best game by any means, their best performance. We're going to get into
their grittiest win, but go ahead.
Gritty win. Yep. Game of runs, a lot to get to. But on paper, the Hawkeyes upset the Spartans 74-61, although as Kyle Huesmann brought up yesterday, this was almost a pick'em by Vegas. I had Iowa winning this game. And boy, the way this game transpired, we are going to get to your comments, your calls. If you want to call in, the number, I'll throw it up on the bottom of the screen for everybody. You can join the conversation. We'll also be joined shortly by Kyle Huesmann of HawkeyeReport.com. But when I look at the way this game played out, Kachine, my only fear is it was an emotional win. It felt like a very physical win, given how Michigan State plays you. They're up in your stuff. They're physical. They press you. They struggled against that team, that defense earlier in the year. Now, I'll give Iowa's defense credit because that's what's winning them games right now, holding the Spartans to 61. But I do wonder if fatigue could be a factor tomorrow. Certainly, you think that anytime you have a team with two straight games played against a team who's been resting, But there's also the rust factor. Let's just talk about this game for now, and then we'll get to the bigger picture and the game tomorrow. What does Michigan State do defensively that makes them so good? Because Iowa struggled, especially early, protecting the ball, although Michigan State struggled in the second quarter with turnovers. But why does Michigan State such a tough matchup for so many offenses?
Yeah, they really disrupt your offense in general. Even Lucy, they were in her shorts the entire night. They make it hard and push people out, push their offense out until you feel like you can't run your offense. So their disruption is at a high level. And I thought that although we had 17 turnovers, I still felt like we handled the press very well. I still felt like we didn't let them rattle us way less than when we did the first time we played them. But I still felt like it was a little bit more calm. They were ready. They were prepared. They were that kind of thing. Now, anytime you have a pressing team that's going to press you the whole game, you're likely to turn the ball over a little bit more than you normally do. That is a fact. Now, like I said, if we're not turning it over 20-something times, something of that sort, but then on the flip side, we turn them over at a very high clip. So that's something I don't think we've seen where we have turned a team over a record amount of times this season, especially not being this late in the season. So I thought our defense definitely helped us on that aspect, and as well as us keeping our turnovers down and being able to run our offense. Probably not as effectively as we normally do, but again, it's hard to do that when you have a team literally in your shorts that's trying to disrupt you. So I thought that they did a good job in doing so.
By the way, I'm happy to field questions about the Iowa men's basketball team's senior day loss to Michigan State on the Carver-Hawkeye Arena side of things, because this is kind of a dual post game, sort of not, but it is an RTI post game. We do appreciate RTI Threads for being here. And of course, you can check out all their apparel, including a bunch of Hawkeyes men's basketball. They're working on some women's basketball features for next season, as I understand it, but also Iowa football, Iowa baseball. You can support so much of what is going on in Iowa City and the University of Iowa, Iowa athletics, by going to rtithreads.com/NIL to check out the NIL merch store of a bunch of Hawkeye athletes. And our RTI Threads player of the game, we're going to give this to a women's player, even though we, again, can go both sides of this, because what an instrumental and just efficient night from Lucy. I know she was 50% from the field, still not bad, but then the 9 assists, 5 rebounds, 4 steals. She's 8 of 8 from the free throw line. And great players step up in postseason play. Kachine, I'm sure you'd agree with that. Mm-hmm. And she was criticized. We were some of the ones that criticized her, I think, to some extent, early in Big Ten Conference play, and called on her to step up. And, free throws were an example of that, where she missed some big free throws in big moments in big games. She was perfect tonight. And I just tweeted out here just moments ago her short little clip at the end of her Big Ten post-game interview on the panel, because she is the ultimate Hawkeye, and she's going to be – I don't know that I can remember a player on any team at this institution that is going to be so beloved after 1 year with the program. But that's who she is. And, I know we at times questioned, did they have the tenacity and the killer instinct from their leaders? And, they haven't done anything in the big dance yet. So hold the horses on March Madness. But it's 2 straight wins in the Big Ten tournament, and 2 straight double-digit wins, both led by Lucy Olson, who's averaging 20 points so far in postseason play. Just talk about what you saw from her and how she kind of put the team on her back when they needed her in the second half.
Yeah, I feel like Lucy has really hit a stride. We've talked about that on many of these podcasts, and just her feeling comfortable, confident, knowing where to find her shot in her offense, and just a bunch of different areas in that aspect. And I feel like she's really has found her voice, not even just, her play, but she's also found her voice on the team and her leadership and things like that. And I think that's just propelled her into the kind of play that we're seeing now. And, I think normal, she started out hot and she kind of foul trouble and everything else, kind of mucked it up in the middle. And then she kind of came on again. And I feel like that's just growth that we've seen throughout kind of the year thus far.
I'm curious because, it's hard not to, when you're looking at a night where both the men's and the women's teams play, and they happen to play the same school. And, not to make this about the Iowa men, but it is sort of a dual post-game show. The Hawkeye men were up double figures in the first half against the Spartans. They ended up giving up 61 points in the second half. Okay. The Iowa women gave up 61 for the entire game. Okay. Now, different circumstances, I understand it. But this is an Iowa men's basketball program. We can't emphasize this enough. That has not been good on the defensive end. Kachine, they have not gone to 2 straight national championship games because of defense. we know that. But they do not take a night off on that end of the floor. Now, they may go through stretches where they struggle, but I don't know. We've had this discussion before. Do you give most of the credit to Sean Sullivan? Do you give it to head coach Jan Jensen? Do you give it to the additions of the freshmen? And I know Taylor Strimlow is scrappy, and Aaliyah Guyton is scrappy, and Ava Heiden proved she's scrappy. Do you attribute it to the leadership of Lucy Olson? I don't know what you attribute it to, but they don't take nights off defensively. How does a team flip that switch in 1 year? Is it really just come down to coaching? I know that sounds simple enough, but listen, this is coming from a person
that's put an emphasis on is what your players will feed
and
into.
that is what's so bizarre, because on the men's side of things, you compare this to what Fran has not been able to do. What's the difference? What's the difference?
Well, Coach Shea, I had said before, Coach Shea is more of a defensive mind anyway. So Coach Bluter is all about offense, which is not a bad thing by any means, but that's just what it is. And so I do think that we had good players, defensive players last year. It's not like we didn't, right? But we were so focused on offense, you didn't really have time to worry about your defense. This was a little bit different. They knew offensively they didn't have firepower. So they worked hard on defense. They made it an emphasis. They put that in their brains. They I don't say brainwashed them, but they kind of went in that aspect of this is what we're going to need to do in order to be successful. And they spent a lot of time on it.
You say they had really good players defensively. Who were their really good players defensively? Sydney Falcher, Kylie Feuerbach?
Kate Martin is probably one.
She's not here. She's not here.
No, I said last year they had great players defensively last year. They were not good last year. Why? Because that was not an emphasis. They did not work hard on defense. They worked on offense. It's not just the skill of the player on if you're going to be a good defensive team or not. That does have some part to it, but you still have to make an emphasis. If you bring this team in now, let's say you take out Caitlin, because Caitlin, we ain't talking about her. Take her out, bring Kate Martin back. It's still going to be the same kind of thing. Bring Gabby Marshall back. You're still going to have more of a defensive team now because that's the emphasis that the coaches are putting on. And
that's my point. I guess that's my point to all the people that say the Iowa men just don't have the horses. To some extent, that holds some level of water. But what the Iowa women have done with Sean Sullivan, with Jan Jensen, and this entire staff in one calendar flip, whether you talk about emphasis or not, whatever the reason, it is proof that a team can change their identity to some extent based on the makeup of their team in one off season. They've done that. And if Fran McCaffrey had a willingness and a commitment to doing that, he could have done that to this point. I'm more crediting Jan because I really do think it's amazing. And it's gotten better as the year has gone on and the offense has started to come along. But you mentioned the word gritty at the start of the show, because this was not the smoothest offensive performance that they've had. Yesterday was, but Sydney Falter, for the first time since mid-January, really struggled from the outside and struggled basically everywhere. She was 0 for 3. She was underwhelming on the glass. Hannah Stolke picks up 4 fouls in the third. Addie O'Grady didn't play well whatsoever. Kudos to Taylor McCabe, man. And I texted you in that third quarter, and they didn't guard her. They didn't guard her all night. She took 10 threes. 10 threes tonight, folks, for Taylor McCabe. She made 4 of them. She's probably wants a couple of those back because most of them are open. She does not really take contested shots. And then Hannah Stolke came in late, closed things out. Kylie Feuerbach was scrappy as well with her 9 points, made a big 3 there late. And yes, the Hawkeyes 17 turnovers against a team that forces turnovers. And it was really during that stretch, second quarter and early first, then second. And then there was that stretch in the third. This was just a game of runs. So I know it kind of going all over the place. The last thing I want to get to before we add in Kyle Huesmann, Ava Heiden, because I know that's the hot topic in the chat. She was huge tonight at a big moment. And I wonder, Kachine, I've not been on the Ava Heiden train like some people have, and neither have you to some extent. But I do think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, did she earn more minutes tonight? Like, is this this is proof they've got to give her time on the floor as we continue in March?
So what's going to happen is, number one, Ava was fantastic, right? I felt like with the game that was being played and also the matchups that Michigan State had, I felt like Ava was a better matchup against Van Sluten over Addie anyways. So let's start with that.
Why didn't she play until the third quarter? Why didn't she play?
I have no idea. I'm just telling you. I felt like she was a better matchup over that anyways, because even the broadcasters talked about it from jump about how bouncy Michigan State's post players are. They are, right? So I felt like that was a better matchup. You needed more athleticism. You needed more all of that. And if you are playing a team like that, Ava should be getting the nod technically over Addie because of that. So with that being said, she came in, she did her part. Like I have always said, we are very fortunate to have a third rotation post player be so skilled. That does not happen. Regardless of if you flip-flop Ava and Addie, you still are fortunate to have three post players that are skilled. That just is not a thing. So the fact that we can, if somebody gets in foul trouble and we got another person and then another person, is they don't have to worry about anything as a coaching aspect in the 5 position. Our problem is in the 4 position. We talked about that before. So anywho, I do think that Ava has, if I'm coaching, Ava next game is coming off the bench first. Okay. That's just me. Now she is a freshman, so she can be very, you never know. Just like Addie, you never know. So,
but Addie's not a freshman. So
no, I'm saying you're right. But what I'm saying is we have games where Addie is lights out. You know what I'm saying? Like we're like, holy, she can't miss. And we have games where Ava is not great, right? Like it is what it is. And I've said that second position is going to be on matchups and who's playing better or whatever the case might be. Now, based off of what she played, you want to ride that. It's only 24 hours. It's not like it's 3 days. It's not like it's anything else. It is 24 hours. You're going to have to play them anyways because people are starting to get tired. That's just the nature of the game. They play 2 games. They're about to play a third one. So she's going to have to play anyways. But me, if I'm a coach, I'm rewarding that hustle. I am rewarding what she did today. Does not mean that I'm just going to continue playing if she is not proving in the game.
But hold on. The reason I brought up what you said about Addie also being up and down, we had this conversation very early in the season. I'm an advocate, as I know a lot of coaches are in various sports, for if you have younger players that are neck and neck with an older player and they're both showing inconsistencies and some of the same weaknesses, you always defer to the younger player because the younger player has more room for growth and more upside.
You want to win. I don't give a damn.
You want to win. But
I don't give a damn about growth. At the end of the day, I want to win.
Same problem.
But if Ava's not playing well, I'm not playing her more because she's younger. I don't give a shit. I do not care if she's younger.
There's games where she doesn't get in the game, Kachine.
I understand, but the reason why she's not getting in the game is why? Because Addie has been playing well or Hannah is playing well. So that's why she's not getting in the game.
Addie did not play well tonight, and it took them until midway through the third quarter to insert Ava. That's all I'm saying. She's got to get in the game earlier for an opportunity to see if she's playing well, because once she got in the game, she outplayed Addie by a quarter mile. That's all I'm saying. She's got to get in the game earlier in an opportunity, especially if you're saying she had a better matchup against the Michigan State.
Yes, I said I felt like she had a better matchup than what you call it. They were also playing zone, so it really didn't really matter at that point. But what I'm saying is, when Ava had not proven in a grand scheme of things at that point for me to put her in first. You're not going to do that. So if I'm going to put Addison in first, right? And we're only putting her in for 2 minutes. It's not like Addison's playing long minutes at this point. Hannah's not in foul trouble. You're going to put her back. Hannah's playing well. So I'm going to put her back in at the 5 position. So I'm not playing Addison long. Now, by the second time we put Addison in, I was like, oh, no. This ain't it. This ain't it. This ain't her game. Out. And my mindset automatically flipped to Ava at that point. I didn't flip to Ava immediately. I knew in my mind that I felt like she was a better matchup down the stretch anyways, but I would have still put in Addie to begin with because Addie has done many different things and has proven herself over time. So now Ava, there's too many A's. Ava is proving herself more. Okay, cool. So now the next game, as in tomorrow, I'm going to reward that. I'm putting her in first. Let me see what she got. Let me see if we can build on that. Let me see if we can ride this wave, that kind of scenario. Let me see if we can ride the wave because Addison's, she's steady Eddie. I'm gonna say that you gonna get what you gonna get, regardless of if she play 20 minutes, 15 minutes. It don't even matter. You're gonna get what you're gonna get with her. So I'm going to see. Let's see if we can ride the wave. Let's see what we can get from Ava because again, she was a spark. So you ride your spark. You don't sit your spark the next game. That doesn't make logical sense. So. I think
there are some fans that feel like she has played well in other games and then she comes back in the next game and doesn't get time. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not advocating for her to have been the first player off the bench
before.
I would say this. I'm not there in practice every day. However, based on what we've seen of late from Ava, if Addie's not playing well, I'm not rotating her back in the second cycle to see if she plays better. To me, it doesn't appear like there's that big of a gap there to where I'm going to rotate Addie O'Grady back in during the second rotation period to see if she's back on track. I'm inserting Ava at that point if I need.
I would have inserted Ava the second time, but I still am not inserting. This game we just played, I would not have inserted Ava before Addison. No,
I'm not advocating
so
that.
By the second time, I would have. I think there were a little. We don't know why. I'm going to tell you why. I don't know why, but there is always a reason why coaches are are slow to pull a trigger. Trust me. So I've heard this many times before. Fans, players, things like that are like, why don't you guys play so-and-so when they have no freaking clue what she's like off the court or in practice. So that's why I'm not really quick to judge when it comes to that because there are times where players are horrible in practice.
Sure.
Horrible. But in the game, somehow they're a little bit different. That doesn't give you confidence as a coach, though.
But this is March. We're not being quick to judge 5 months into the season, Kachine. Like if I had said this in November, December.
You guys are not in practice.
No, I know we're not.
We're only watching basketball games. But they are different. Their coaches are around them 24/7. They're around them all the time.
I understand.
There's a reason why people are not playing people. Like that's just a fact.
Right? But you just admitted 2 seconds ago that there are some players that play better in games than they do in practice. I feel like
that doesn't give coaches confidence, though. Trust me.
I understand.
Just because you play good in games, that does not give me confidence because you don't play well in practice. So it's a tug and pull scenario when it comes to that. So with Ava's situation, again, I don't know what she's like in practice. I don't know what she struggles with. I don't know anything of the sort. But what I do know is there's a reason why they're not playing them. Every coach wants to win. Their jobs are on the line. You think they're not playing somebody because they don't like them or they think that so and so? No, there's a reason. So whatever the reason is, there's something. She is slowly proving herself in whatever the aspect is that is holding her back. I don't know what that is. So she is proving herself. Again, I don't know. I would have put her in the second time. I would not have kept her in there. But at the end of the day, moving forward, I would definitely put Ava as my first sub off the bench. And I would also stop freaking playing Tegan Mullaney. I will put Hannah in at the 4 over that. I'm like, Lord have mercy. That's when they went on the run in the second quarter. Like,
can we still be friends, Kachine? Can we still be friends? By the way, hey, debates are good for ratings. I'm
losing my mind.
There have been other games where I've been pro Addy O'Grady, so I'm kind of just playing devil's advocate to some extent here. But I do think Ava earned some minutes. I agree with you. I think I don't even know that she should be the first off the bench.
I would. No, well, not off the bench. I'm talking about the first 5 sub. Instead of Addison, I would put Ava in if I'm going to sub at the 5.
That's exactly what I mean. I say first 5 off the bench. That's what I mean. I don't know that she should be the first 5 off the bench. Maybe she should. I don't know. It's good stuff. Good debate. Let's go. Let's add Kyle in because we got a couple of callers to get to as well. So Kyle, you've been hearing some of this back and forth from Kachine and I, and I guess what are your 2 cents on this conversation on Ava Heiden?
I mean, I think that this was one of those scenarios where we're in March now, right? And you lean on your veterans in this time, but you see time and time again every year, men's, women's basketball. There's always that game where someone that you don't expect to steps up and has the that run of points or that big shot that changes the game. And today it was Ava Heiden. It was a spot where that game could have gone a couple of ways there. Iowa took momentum in the second quarter with whatever was a 16-0 run. They go into the half with a 7-point lead, and they come out of the half, and Michigan State kind of gets it close. And all of a sudden, there's a couple of, I'll call them questionable foul calls that puts Iowa all of a sudden in some trouble with Hannah and Lucy on the bench. And then there's a technical foul that, again, questionable at best. And all of a sudden, all that momentum that Iowa had in the second quarter is gone, and Michigan State's up 46-41. That could have turned into a game that Iowa lost pretty quickly. But Ava Heiden really stepped up with Hannah Stolke on the bench and made some big plays and finishes the game with 11 points, 4 rebounds in 12 minutes. That was just one of those where someone stepped up that person that you wouldn't have expected coming into the game steps up and makes the big plays, creates the big spark. And I thought that her plays in the third quarter to help stabilize the game was the reason why Iowa won. Obviously, there's a bunch of other things that Iowa did well, and I'm sure we'll get to all that. But I thought what Ava Heiden did in the third quarter, among other things, was really important because of the time that it happened with the way the game was trending. Things could have gone south pretty quickly.
Before we get to our next caller, I do want to address this because I've seen a lot of people comment on it. By the way, we got about 1,000 people watching. Please hit the like button, share the stream out, let people know that Kyle's with us, Hawkeye Great Kachine is with us, and some nobody named Corey is with you. So real quick, I just want to establish this. This has been floating around in the live chat for the last couple of days, Kyle. Sarah brings up a post that AJ Guyton made on social media the other day. And by the way, I actually spoke with AJ briefly, did not ask him about this. I spoke with him briefly yesterday. I know he was not at the tournament yesterday because he had some other obligations. I don't know if he made it there today. Of course, he's not that far of a drive, and his daughter does play on the team. So I don't know if he was there today or not. But Kyle, can you tell? I'm sure you've been asked this question on a message board or something. What's this post people are talking about relative to AJ Guyton?
I don't even know. I don't have post notifications on for him. So if it's something that got deleted, I never saw it. So I don't know what it is. I know there's people that have been discussing the transfer portal for Aaliyah Guyton. I don't believe it right now. If something changes, then that would be a different discussion. But I don't believe it right now. I mean, you're talking about someone that in the middle of that losing streak, Jan Jensen said was stepping up as a leader. If Aaliyah Guyton holds feelings of I should be playing more, I'm upset about how this is going. You don't step up in the middle of a losing streak to become a leader. Like that's the last thing you're going to do if you're upset about stuff like that. So I don't personally believe there's anything there right now. But whatever the post was in question, I don't know anything about it.
Just to make you feel, Kachine, if I rubbed you the wrong way on that last debate, all these people in the chat, Steeler Chick says, Kachine, Jerry, yeah, Coach Cash, woo, Cash time, Kachine's here. All the people love you.
Never. I love a good debate.
I know you do. All right, let's go back to let's go to our phone line because we got a couple of people who've been on hold for a while. Thank you for calling out with Kachine Alexander, who's on the line. I'm not going to do the beep. Hello, you're on the air.
Beep.
On mute.
Oh, yo, we got you now. We hear you now, loud and clear.
Hi, guys. It's Christy from Gilbert, Arizona. How you doing tonight?
We're good. How are you? All this time, I thought you were from Gilbert, Iowa. I'm glad to hear you're from Arizona. Welcome back.
Well, I wanted to start off by saying congrats to Kachine for her volleyball win last night. So way to go.
My retired sport. Thank you very much.
And then I guess I kind of wanted to just say this. You know, I get why people are all hyped up about Ava, but given that Coach Jan is highly regarded as the post whisperer, if she's not playing her, I have to kind of believe there was a reason that she wasn't playing, you know, certain minutes. And now we're further along. She's got a little more experience, a little more practice time. So it seems like now she's getting her shot and she's proving her, you know, she's proving herself. So I just, to the earlier conversation, and, you know, maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, but I just think there's a reason.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point. I mean, it's sort of like the conversation we have with if somebody started debating which offensive lineman should be playing for Iowa football, and it's like, well, you know, your head coach is supposed to be an O-line coach. He's a former O-line coach. Jan Jensen's a former post player and she is considered to be a post whisperer. So that's a good point, Christy.
Great point.
And my other question for Kachine is, you know, now they're going to go in tomorrow, play a fresh Ohio State team, and, you know, Iowa's on day 3. And as a former player for you, like, how much harder is that going to be for Iowa versus Ohio State? Or is it in a way a little bit harder for Ohio State because they've been sitting there cold, not playing? Like, what's kind of the pro and con either way, I guess is my question.
So a lot of people always think about the more games you play, the more, you know, you're kind of lower this kind of, I guess, that aspect. But what I will say is that it evens out. The reason of that being is because Ohio State is different when you're playing, you're just practicing. You're not playing against competition. You're not actually playing in a game. So a lot of teams can get out of rhythm because they haven't played. When was the last time Ohio State played? Like a week ago at this point?
Would have been Sunday against Maryland.
So they haven't played in a couple days. Iowa's already played 2 games. They're in a rhythm. They're feeling, they felt the court already. They played 2 games on it. Ohio State, yes, they are fresher legs, but they're also coming in cold, technically speaking. So I think they even each other out a lot. It can go either way. Now, what I will say that nods to Ohio State is with the fresher legs, their press can be a little taxing because they have not played. We have played. So that's the one thing I would say is nod to them, but they could be off shooting wise. Their offense can be a little bit stagnant because they haven't actually played in a game or in a game in that arena. So I think it kind of evens itself out. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a nice little get back game. We got one at Michigan State against Michigan State. So this is another get back game opportunity.
And then just kind of the last thing I just kind of wanted to say, I kind of hope that we don't see Stolke bring the ball up the court much more.
She got away.
The reason that Stolke is bringing the ball up the court is because our guards are not demanding the ball. Like, that's the problem. Yeah. She's not trying to bring the ball up. She's left no option to bring the ball up because nobody's doing anything else. So even the one with Ava,
I was like,
go ahead.
Why are her teammates not? Why are the people standing there on the line not kind of the guards kind of running up to her? Like, I guess when I was in basketball, you knew who the people on your team were who had certain weaknesses, and as a teammate, you would come up to them. You would come to the ball, not just stand there and watch your teammates struggle half the court. So I just don't know why that's happening.
Some people don't want that pressure. They rather just give it to somebody else. So, I think there's a couple things. Like I said, some people don't want the pressure, or they're expecting them to get it to them in some other fashion. And it's like, no, you have to go get the ball from your fives. You cannot expect them to try to make some pass that a guard can make. No, you got to go get the ball. And so I think that was a little bit of it. I think it's a little bit of scaredness, a little bit maybe fatigue, because, it takes extra work to get open. So it could be that too.
Well, that's all I had for tonight. Thank you, guys,
Thank you,
and
Kristen.
go Hawks.
Thanks.
Appreciate the call. All right, let's move right along to our next caller. Before we take our next caller, we got a couple of things here. First of all, Ask a Bum. I love when Kachine Gun spits knowledge. That's a cool. I haven't heard that one before, but that's good. I called you
Machine Gun.
Yeah, I know. I love the nickname. Were you ever called that in
what
in
machine
level?
gun?
Yeah, any level of
No, the Big Ten always used to call me Kachine the Machine, like all the time.
Kachine Gun's interesting though.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah,
that's an interesting one. Lemansky, thank you for the super chat as well. Aren't we lucky to have all these freshman contributors? Forever flowers to Ms. Guyton's drive and dish assists. I am baffled by some of the comments in the chat from
I'm so confused.
Certain people. Like Rafine, with all due respect, you have no idea what you're talking about because you don't know how to see the big picture of these things.
She won us games early in the season.
So not only first of all, she came off injury and didn't start playing until early December, late November. She's a freshman. She's probably going to start at point guard next year. She's going to have a good shot at starting at point guard. Of course, Addie Deal comes in, but they lose Feuerbach, they lose Olsen. So that's just failing to see the big picture on a player that was really highly regarded at a high school and is also coming off a serious knee injury. Steve, same thing, just a naive comment to make with all due respect. And then Gabe taking a shot at me. Coward! Give the RTI thread player of the game to Ava. I thought I did think about it, but that would have I don't think that would have been fair. Lucy, this is quite a stat line. Kyle, I asked Kachine about her stats here a few minutes ago, but this is probably she's had a few box scores like this, but 8 of 8 at the line, 9 assists, 5 boards, 4 steals. One of her best performances, and it comes at a big time when they needed every one of those numbers.
Yeah, it didn't feel, watching the game, it didn't necessarily feel like that was the stat line. I mean, 21 points is a solid night. And I guess that's how you know that Lucy Olsen has gotten to the point where she's playing really good basketball. When we've gotten to the point now where she can put up 21, you go, yeah. I mean, she played. I didn't, she made big plays, but it wasn't one of those, I think back to the Nebraska game where she put up 32. You knew she was putting up 32 in that game. It felt like it. Didn't feel like it tonight. It was just a solid game from Lucy. And the thing that stands out there is 9 assists, but 2 turnovers. When you're playing a Michigan State team that forced 23 turnovers in that first meeting, Lucy was my player to watch coming in, which maybe you could argue is, kind of a cop out, I guess, because she's been playing the best. But she played very poorly in that first meeting. 4 of 17, had 13 points. I think she had a season high 7 turnovers. So she was one that I felt like, when you compared the first meeting to now, where did Iowa have some things that stood out that they're doing this better, or this person's playing better, and Lucy was the one that has certainly been playing better than she did in that first meeting, and she delivered tonight. I mean, 5 rebounds as well, and then 4 steals. I mean, an impressive stat line throughout to help Iowa get the win today.
Lucy Olsen, our RTI Threads player of the game, and meanwhile, Kachine, you're getting ripped over on Twitter. You gotta love it. I don't know, but it's always great when I'm not the only one getting ripped. I really relish in that. So let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Hi, this is Bill.
Hey, Bill.
I think the last time I called in was when they were in the middle of that horrible losing streak.
Okay.
I'll try to keep this short, but just a couple points. When Lisa retired, I felt good about Jan, and my calls earlier, I think, were very critical of her. I think it's very impressive, the turnaround that, during that losing streak, I called in and said that the team just was going to find a way to lose, that they just didn't have the confidence. And the turnaround that they've had has been very impressive, and I think Jan deserves credit for that. That now, even though they've lost some tough games against some good teams, they seem to have the reverse mindset that they think that they can win. And then the other point that I really want to say is Lucy just deserves so much credit. It takes an amazing person to want to step into the shoes of Caitlin Clark and transfer here. I mean, she was a very talented person. I actually watched her play with Villanova, and it's amazing that she had the fortitude and the strength to want to take that position. And it's really, it warms my heart that she's had a great experience and that Iowa has just warmed and welcomed her and made this a great experience for her. I think that's really special and amazing. The only negative that I will say is that I still don't understand their press breaking and some of those inbound passes and some of the plays trying to get the ball in just baffles my mind.
Kachine?
That's the only negative that I have to say right now.
Well, Bill, we appreciate your call, and I agree with a lot of that. I want to piggyback on it. We appreciate you calling in.
All right. Thank
you, sir.
You. And even though I haven't called in, doesn't mean that I haven't been listening to you guys. You guys do a great job. So
thank you, Bill. We appreciate the support, sir. A couple things that Bill brought up. First of all, the press, Kyle and I talked about this yesterday. Actually, Kyle and I talked about it yesterday. We knew that was going to be a story. Michigan State had success with it the first time around. And I did think they got away with, I don't know if you want to call it, does hand checking exist anymore? I don't know that it does. And
sometimes it does.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. But honestly, I thought Iowa handled it pretty well in the second half. Given some of the struggles early and what happened last time, to come away with only 17 turnovers, I think it shows how this team is advanced. How big of a concern is Iowa's inability to break the press consistently to you, Kachine, as we head into postseason play against teams out of conference?
I think we've consistently been getting better. I think more times than not, we've talked about it on this podcast about how we handled the press. We felt better, things like that. You're not going to be perfect. Nobody's ever perfect. You're going to turn the ball over in the press. That's a fact. They practice this all the time. It's just limiting that and limiting your unforced turnovers. I did think that we had very good press breaking opportunities. I felt like we didn't force things. Sydney still struggles in the press, but overall, she was better than she has been. So I think that's just kind of her Achilles heel, if I'm going to be honest with you. And then Kylie, she just always makes me nervous. So I don't know. That's just what it's going to be. I thought that Taylor McCabe was actually a bright spot in the press. I felt like she didn't force things. She got the ball over half court, set up the offense. She made sure that she was not going to force any passes and let's just get our offense together, et cetera. And I felt like that was exactly the role that she needed to take. So overall, like I said, I feel like it's getting better. And this was a great game leading into Ohio State. It's so much easier to prepare for another pressing team than if you were playing a non-pressing team. And then you got to go against an Ohio State who's all in your face. They just played this almost exact game. So they should be a little bit more prepared for it, et cetera. So I guess that's the way the cookie crumbles, and I'm happy it did that way.
Corey, did you mute yourself again?
Sorry, I did it again. Not to sound like Britney Spears, but anyways, I will say this. Taylor McCabe deserves a ton of credit. I thought she was 35 minutes. She actually nearly led the team in minutes. Sydney Falter at 36, Kylie with 36. You really had four players. I mean, if you count Lucy, 4 players that played 33 or more minutes. So this was not a big Taylor Strimlow game. It was obviously not a big Guyton game. Heiden played well late. O'Grady did not play great. We talked about that. But I thought Taylor McCabe, again, the 10 3-point shots was indicative of how they were playing her. And that's when I want her to let it fly. And to your point, Kachine, she protected the ball well. She had the ball in her hands more times than you'd probably like. Only had 1 turnover on the night. They were plus 16 with her on the court. Now, again, she was on the court basically the whole game. But, I mean, would you have expected that in a game this big against that? You go back to November.
Trust me. Listen, Hey,
last
you ain't had to
year-
tell me.
No.
You do not have to tell me. I was not a Taylor McCabe fan for many reasons.
No one would have
But
expected her to be a heavy minutes player in a postseason game against this team.
She has really buckled down. Like, she has really kind of went into her role. She's solid defensively. I mean, she's not outstanding, but she's not horrible. She's just a solid defender, right? And then on top of that, she's not, doesn't do too much with the ball, so that she's not, getting out of her comfort zone and forcing turnovers. Like, she has really honed into who she is, what she does well, what she does not do well. And she's really, really done a nice job. So, hey, kudos to Kayla McCabe.
All right, let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Hi, is Angelo?
Hey, Angelo, how are you?
Good. I just want to say, great game. We're going to need all three big, so I'm tired of listening about the 5 spot. They're all good at something. They're all going to have a good night, bad night. We're going to get in foul trouble. We're going to need all three. So, Cash, you're right about that. And we're lucky to have 3.
Okay.
And another thing, I don't think you guys, maybe you guys do realize it, but Lucy Olson is a dog, man. I loved it when she was getting hacked coming down the court.
She was.
She put her shoulder in that girl, got the offensive foul. If you don't think she's got fight in her or some dog in her, you're crazy. That girl is tough as nails. That smile is she's a sweetheart, but on the court, she's a different gal. Just saying, go Hawks, and let's stop with this 5 spot. I'm tired of hearing it.
Yes, sir.
I'm just tired of it because Addie will come in and hit that 15-foot shot. I mean, so let's we are who we are right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the phone call. All right. Good phone call. Good opinion. Very well stated and kept it short. So those are all positive things. All right. We got to get to the chat with a few comments here. Cyhawk C Money says Cash is greater than Kyle Spence golf. Sorry, Kyle. We to fill in, but Sage Steele says Kirk Ferentz needs to stop driving to the basket. Oh, I'm sorry. Kylie Feuerbach. KF always means Kirk Ferentz in Hawkeyeville, Kachine. Yes, Kylie Feuerbach needs to stop driving to the basket. She's not.
Kirk Ferentz needs to too. You're right. So you're right. You're right.
Hey, I think the men might be able to use Kirk Ferentz as a wing
That
player.
is so funny.
Anyways, all right. This is a question for Kyle. Aaron brings up the 6th seed. He thinks that Iowa's got that seed locked in now. I tend to agree, but I'm no bracketologist, so I'm just kind of guessing. You follow this a little closer than we do, Kyle. Your thoughts on seeding as it stands right now, assuming they lose as expected. They could win, but as expected tomorrow against Ohio State.
Yeah, I would say I'd have to. I'm pulling it up right now to make sure I don't say anything wrong. The 6 seeds right now, I would say Iowa would be a 6 seed as of today. You look at the 7 seeds. I believe this is as of this morning. Yeah, Charlie Cream of ESPN this morning. Your 7 seeds would be Louisville, who snuck out of overtime against Clemson today. Utah, who has not played yet at the Big 12 tournament. Oklahoma State, who has not played at the Big 12 tournament, and Michigan. I think Iowa would hold the advantage over Michigan right now just because they beat them. I talked about this yesterday that I felt like if Iowa lost today and then Michigan went and beat Maryland or something, that could certainly push Michigan above Iowa. But I believe Utah and Oklahoma State have to play each other at the Big 12 tournament after. If Utah wins their first game, I believe they play them. I think Iowa's in a really good spot to get a 6th seed right now. This was a quad 1 win tonight. So they're now 9-9 in quad 1, quad 2 games. No bad losses, nothing like that. So I really like where Iowa's resume stands right now. I'm 95% sure they're locked into a 6th seed right now because tomorrow won't be. It'll be about as good of a loss as you can get in the Big Ten tournament outside of USC and UCLA. It's going to be a loss that is. I mean, even if you lose by double digits, it's still not a bad loss either way. So I like where Iowa sits there. I don't know that there's a lot of room to add on top of a 6th seed. I think they'd have to make it to Sunday to have a shot at a 5 seed. I looked at it because Ohio State was projected as a 5 seed this morning, I believe. Yes, a 5 seed. So I just for fun, I looked at all. Yeah. So I looked
low. I mean, perceived they've been in the top 10 most of the year, correct? Obviously polls don't equal resume. I just am curious. That seems low to me.
Yeah, that could change if Ohio State wins tomorrow or something like that, because they are, Kansas State's a 4. Alabama just lost to Florida today, and they were a 4. So Ohio State could be on the high end of the 5 seeds and could potentially move up to a 4. North Carolina snuck out today against Boston College. They were a 4 seed. So I think Ohio State could move up. But I compared Iowa's resume to Ohio State because they were projected a 5 seed, and it's not close. Ohio State's 11-4 in quad 1, quad 2 games. Like I said, Iowa currently is 9-9. So they have 2 more wins against quad 1, quad 2, and 5 less losses. So I don't think Iowa's particularly close to a 5 seed at this point. I think they'd have to beat Ohio State, beat UCLA to have a shot there. But I think they've successfully made it out of the 7-10 region. I don't think that's in the cards at this point. It would have to take something like Iowa losing tomorrow, and then like a Utah making a big run, and then Michigan making a big run, and then kind of everyone behind them making a big run to even to make it an argument. But I think Iowa's pretty locked in as a 6th seed right now at the NCAA tournament.
Okay, Bobby wants to know, Kachine is a coach. When and how did you use your technicals? You were never a head coach at any level, correct? So you never used technicals. You never got a technical as an assistant. You weren't Gary Close.
Nah, I ain't
Okay. Gary got one time. But anyways, I thought the one that Jan got was, I thought it was orchestrated, because I don't think it was all that bad of a call.
I think she was irritated because it was almost right after they called that blocking foul on Lucy. So it was like, what? Like, at least let's be consistent, regardless if it's a bad, good, whatever you want to call it. Because the blocking charge call is one of the hardest calls to make on the spot. I don't care who you are. That thing is almost always wrong because it is a very hard call to make. So, but I think she was just frustrated because it was also Lucy's 3rd foul.
Yeah, well, I think that was what added to some of Jan's fire on that was the fact that I thought the call on Lucy was awful. I thought was it Jocelyn Tate that got she lowered her shoulder right into Lucy's stomach. I have no idea how that could be considered a blocking foul in any way, and that was Lucy's 3rd foul. And then what was it? The next possession or 2 possessions later is when Hannah gets her 3rd foul. So you just had a block call and a charge call that probably should have been flipped. I've always been one that I thought in today's game that was probably a charge on Hannah. But I mean, back when I played basketball, which wasn't that long ago. But back when I played basketball, you had to be set in the lane for 10 minutes. You had to have a house, pay off the mortgage. You had to be set for a long time to get a charge call when I played. So I don't like some of these where they slide in at the last second. I thought that's what happened on Hannah is she tried to slide in at the last second, and Hannah was kind of stuck in a tough spot. But I think that's why Jan was so upset, because those kind of happened right back to back, and they were both the 3rd fouls. And all of a sudden, Lucy and Hannah were both on the bench, which is not a situation you want to be in for very long. They didn't show a replay of Jan, so I don't know what she said. I don't know how much she went at the refs. But that was an interesting spot.
You're on mute.
They should. I do that because I never know when the people on the phone line are going to. Anyways, we won't go into the technicalities of this operation, but they did show her initially, though, Kyle. They showed Jan Jensen initially when her eyes got big, and she looked like I'm trying to think of she looked like a character from a movie, and I can't think of she was livid in that moment. I don't know if that's obviously she had to have said something. I thought to me, there have been several moments this year, and I don't know if it's the grace of being a first-year head coach, but where she's been getting it going on the sidelines, almost looking like she wanted a technical, and the officials have deferred against that, and they didn't do that tonight. And that was an experienced crew on the call. Of course, once you get into postseason, they're all good crews, but
sure.
you didn't like the officiating tonight, did you, Kyle?
I thought it was about what it normally is, which is average to below average. But I just thought there were a couple of calls in a couple of spots that I really do think that the call on Lucy and then the call on Hannah and then the technical foul that came after it, that could have, if Ava Heiden doesn't come in and give that spark, that could have been the flipping stretch of the game. And I've never been. I'm never a fan. I tweeted this. I'm not a fan of when a ref misses a call and then the coach gets on you about missing the call that you tee him up too. Like, it's just, if you're gonna miss the call, you got to let the and they.
It wasn't a missed call though. It was a block charge situation. It was not a missed call. They just
Well, yeah, it was a missed call in the way that I thought it was a block.
Sure.
So if you're gonna have an inconsistent where you call,
it was a block. Wait a minute, you did think that was a block?
I thought it was close. I thought she slid in. I said it. When I played basketball, you had to be set for ages before you got a charge call.
I would tend to agree with you, Kyle, but those block charge calls are really difficult to officiate, and I don't know that it. I don't know that it deserved the response Jan gave them.
Well, no, I don't think Jan's reaction. I don't think Jan's reaction was to that specific call.
Yeah,
I think it was the fact that Lucy got the block 30 seconds before that. No, I was someone that tried to take charges in basketball, but I'm generally one that if it's close like that one, I would lean block over charge, just because you can't reward a defensive player for sliding in late like that to try to take the charge, because it's really hard for an offensive player to catch a pass and turn and have someone right there coming in right at the last second. But yeah, I thought that could have been the turning point of the game right there. But I mean, really, we've talked about Ava, but credit to the whole Iowa team to kind of weather that moment and not let that be the defining stretch of the game. And they were able to kind of overcome that little bit of the game. But Jan to get a technical there, whether she wanted to or not. If she wanted to, I don't know about that decision if she wanted to, because it didn't feel like Iowa needed it. Sometimes you need it. If you're down by 10 or whatever, and the coach says, I'm just going to see if I can fire my team up. But that was, a 2-point game and Iowa was winning. You don't want to just gift the other team, points in a possession in that moment. But yeah, I mean, it's her first of the season. And I agree with you that I feel like there were a couple other times this year where she was awfully close to getting one.
Jared Jones, clearly a Buckeye fan, says, please leave Ava on the bench tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah. Wow. What?
Viewpoint from an opponent. Brian, I don't understand this question. 11 seed is based on conference record. Can't change that now. Do we really think we should jump a team with a better record? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Their conference record is what their conference record is. The tiebreakers worked out the way the tiebreakers worked out. They're not changing. This is not a fluid seeding system. Once what is that, like the NBA Cup? They do a fluid system, right?
They do that. Don't they do that in the NFL? Like it's just the highest.
Yeah, the NFL. That's right.
Man, that would suck. Can you imagine that? If I had to just go play like USC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought they got a good draw when it came out based on how the Big Ten is drawn up. All right, let's go to our next caller. We got Dylan on the phone line. Dylan, welcome to the show.
Beep, beep.
Well, I see Dylan. I see a picture of Dylan, but I don't have audio of Dylan. It looks like Dylan's muted. Dylan, you want to try to get yourself unmuted here? Going once, going twice. All right, Dylan's gone. We'll see.
Back, Dylan.
If Dylan comes back. Why is everybody saying you're drinking Crown Royal? What's going on with the chat? People keep saying you. I don't know. I don't know. I think
where
are
you seeing this? Like,
I can. You want me to pull up the comments? There's comments.
Please, I don't. Maybe I'm just not. Listen.
I lost them. But there were some people saying you were tipsy and you'd been drinking Crown Royal, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, we got a super chat from Lemansky. Corey is not a coward. To debate Cash should be admired. Shows he is fearless. Well, Cash is all the way across the country in Charlotte, so it's not like she can slap me from Charlotte. So, Lemansky, I do appreciate the yes, thank you. I do appreciate the super chat, Lemansky, and the donation. There was one more thing I wanted to get with you on, Kyle, before we let you slide, and we can't be here too late because it is late on the East Coast for Kachine. Do you work tomorrow, Kachine? It's Friday. You got to work.
Of course, I work from home though. So.
Okay. Here's the. Well, first of all, Annie, thank you for the super sticker. I can't see the sticker on my end, but everybody on YouTube can. So thank you for that. Let's see here. Well, let's see. This is one I wanted to ask you about, Kyle, because she made her stance very clear. The Tegan Mulaney situation. She did not play well tonight. I did think she gave them some decent minutes yesterday. But we did see late, situationally, Iowa can go back to Hannah at the 4, Ava or Addie at the 5. But do you see Iowa toying with Hannah at the 4, even though she's not proven to have a jump shot yet because of the struggles of Tegan Mulaney, because they really don't have other options either when a falter's in foul trouble or when she's gassed.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen a lot of situations, because what Sid played 36 minutes tonight, so there wasn't really a situation where they had to decide on what they wanted to do. That they did put Hannah and Ava were in for, I don't know.
I like that one.
I don't have a lineup breakdown. That would be in the box score. I don't have that up, but they did have Ava and Hannah in for a couple of minutes together. And I think they've done it for short stretches they did it with Addie and Hannah. But they do Addie and Hannah against
they did it with somebody
in the second half for a couple of minutes. I think that's what they'll do, just because you expect Sida Fulter to be playing 30 to 35 minutes, and apparently tonight 36 minutes. So there's not a whole lot of time to fill with Sid off the floor. And in those short minutes you can go with Hannah at the 4. Yeah. And I haven't noticed recently when they've done Hannah at the 4 in short stints, I haven't noticed it to be bad, because they try to do some of those dribble handoffs at the top of the free throw line to try to get her going towards the hoop. Which I think if you can do that on a couple of possessions, when Sid's on the bench, or if you don't trust Tegan Mulaney to be in. Again, Tegan only played a minute tonight is what they have her down for. But again, if Sida Fulter is going to play 33, 35 minutes in a game, if you can just get 3-4 minutes out of Tegan Mulaney, you don't need 10 minutes out of Tegan Mulaney.
That was a really bad minute tonight.
Or she gave her 5 points in a minute.
Bad minute. Can we?
That's my thing, though. Why do we need her, though?
Kyle,
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Reporter, but I've never heard you say anything real bad about a player. But can we agree that 1 minute was not good?
No, it wasn't good. But I mean, she hasn't been great this year at times. But I think, again, if you need her to, again, we're in March. I said there's people that have to step up. If you need Tegan Mulaney to come in for 3 or 4 minutes, that's all. That might be all you need. And then if you want to put Hannah at the 4 for a bit, I think they'll pick and choose the times to do it. But I mean, her not coming back in is obviously kind of showing that they don't trust her a whole lot at this point. Again, you're also going to go Sida Fulter for longer stretches because this is the postseason now. But yeah, I could see them going with Hannah at the 4. Like I said, for short stretches, I still don't think you can afford to do that for long stretches, just because Hannah hasn't proven that she can play the 4 for long stretches. But I think you can find a way to steal a few possessions, a few minutes, based on some of the play calls that you want to run over that time. Corey, man, you're muted again.
I know. I caught it that time. Chad says, Kyle, they said on the air, opinion of the Hawks, are they're a 7 seed. I think we answered this earlier. So
yes, we did.
We've talked a lot about seeding, and of course, we'll know here in a few days. Anyways, regardless of what happens tomorrow. Let's go to our last caller before we let Kyle head on out. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
3 or 4. Oh, that might be all you need. Then
beep, beep.
You're on the air. Beep, beep.
Dave Brunsville.
Hey, Dave. How are you?
I'm great.
Great.
Looking at what's happened with the Hawkeyes this year compared to last year, do you think Jan really had a chance to be in Coach of the Year for the Big Ten?
Yes, I believe so. I believe she should have been in the conversation. I don't know where the voting stacked up, but I said that yesterday. What she's done latter half of the Big Ten season. Kachine, your thoughts on Jan being a candidate for Coach of the Year?
I mean, candidate, sure. I think if we would have finished, what did we finish? 10-8.
10-8. Yep.
If we would have finished like 12-6 or something of that short, I think it would have been like a really high. If we flipped maybe 2 or 3 more games, I think she would have been pretty high because of the fact of how much we lost. I think that would have, if we could have finished in the first 6, first 5, something of that, I think she would have definitely been. She probably would have got it.
Yeah, and Dave, let's keep in mind, this is a team that's coming off 2 national championships. So I do think that plays in the back of the head of voters that even though they lost Caitlin Clark in that great seniors class, it's not like they took a big step forward with the first-year head coach. They took a big step back. It's just we could have seen this be a lot worse. So I think from the inside, I think she's probably appreciated more than we realize. But who won Coach of the Year? Did you say this yesterday, Kyle?
USC coach.
Yeah, the USC coach won it.
All right. Dave, anything else?
Adam Lure, you guys do a great job.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your
Thanks,
support.
Dave. Where you from, Dave?
No, Dave's gone. Dave's gone.
Put it in the chat, Dave.
Sorry, Dave. Tell us where you're from next time. Okay. Kyle, anything else before we let you slide? Of course, people can check out your stuff over at Hawkeye Report.
No, I don't have anything else. I just know that I've got this means that I've got to write another game preview tonight, so it'll be a late night for me. But yeah, I thought this was a good win.
Like midnight last night, right? That you had another game preview to write.
So I didn't go to bed till like 1:30 yesterday, so it'll be later tonight probably. So, but I knew it when I saw the bracket come out and they were on the late half of the slate. I knew it could be a potentially interesting week. But no, I thought this was a good win today. I thought in certain places players stepped up. We talked about Lucy Stelling. We talked about Ava, obviously. But I thought Taylor McCabe knocking down 4 threes in some big situations. I thought that Kylie Feuerbach had some situations where she played and did some good things. Again, 3 assists tonight. Obviously hit a couple of shots late to kind of help close it out. Hannah Stolke, I thought, had a better game. She missed a couple of layups, but 12 points, 10 rebounds is a solid night. So I thought that there were players in certain situations that stepped up, whether it was like Hannah had 8 points in the second quarter. She was the one that stepped up in the second quarter. Ava stepped up in the third quarter. Taylor McCabe made a couple of threes throughout the game. So I thought they got the contributions in the right spots. There were a couple, not everyone was consistently contributing throughout the game other than maybe Lucy. But when the certain players picked their times to contribute, it seemed like it was the right time when each player kind of stepped up and found the spot to make a spark.
Kyle Huesmann, HawkeyeReport.com. You can check out his stuff and the entire Hawkeye Report team on Twitter and, of course, online. Check out their message boards. I'm sure there's plenty of debate going on there as we head into a busy season, potential off-season coming very soon for the men, and, of course, a long postseason, we hope, for the Iowa women. Kyle, get to writing your preview for tomorrow, and we'll talk to you hopefully after another big win.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. All right. We are going to try to get through the last couple calls and comments in the chat as quickly as possible so Kachine can get to bed. And if you need to have a little bit of crown to fall asleep, it's understandable. Kachine. I don't know where that came from earlier. I have no idea where that came from. All right, this is an interesting question. What do you think of next year's team without assuming a major transfer? Message boards seem obsessed with a need I don't see. So they bring in Addie Deal, they bring in Layla Hayes, they bring in Journey Houston, but they lose Lucy Olson, we think they're losing Kylie, they're losing Addie, they're losing Edgar, and whoever else transfers. So, we're going to have these discussions after the postseason, but is that one you want to take a stab at right now?
I don't see a 4 in there outside of Hannah. I could be wrong, but I think.
Yeah, Cindy Falter is the other one. I didn't mention a Falter, but she's the other one.
Who's leaving, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, if we had the numbers, I would definitely try to get another experienced player, preferably in the 4 position.
And this comment from Dylan as well. I think we addressed this earlier a bit with Mulaney playing poorly, at least tonight. Ava and Hannah showing the ability to play 4-5 together briefly.
Hey, that was Dylan. Who ain't get on?
We were trying to hear from earlier.
Yeah. And Dylan is absolutely right. That's exactly the right way to get Ava minutes because I like them together. I think they play well off of each other.
All right, let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Hi, this is Bert.
Hey, Bert.
Hey, just looking at the seeding here, and I feel like the Hawk ladies have definitely solidified a 6 seed, which gets them beating a 3 to get to the Sweet 16 and playing a 2. That's a pretty favorable seeding. But if they could beat Ohio State tomorrow night, they could get to a 5. But that puts them against the number 1 in the Sweet 16. You think it's better to have
the well, I'll tell you what, if we're talking about, what do we think the ceiling of this team is? I'm not saying they can't get to an Elite 8, but I mean, I would think the goal right now has to be Sweet 16 for the reasonable fans out there, right, Kachine?
Correct.
Based on this team. So I can understand where you're coming from, but I'd rather play a 4 versus a 3 to get to the Sweet 16. But I agree with Kyle Huesmann, who said many a time that there's a bigger difference between 2 and 3 versus between 4 and 5 and, any other seed line. So as long as they can stay away from that 7, and I think they probably have at this point with this win tonight.
Bert?
Yeah, I agree. I think they're definitely off the 7. They're definitely a 6 seed at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I understand where you're coming from, though. I've had those same thoughts, but it's kind of like when Iowa football deliberately didn't score and almost blew a game against Minnesota a few years ago, and Don Patterson came on this very show, and it was very clear you always score a touchdown in that situation because you don't deliberately try to run clock and not score. You score. We've seen teams blow games because they tried doing that. So I'd say the same thing. You just want to keep winning. I don't, it's not like you're going to go tomorrow and say, well, we don't want to win. We want to go fine.
The numbers are one thing, but we all, even last year, it's all about who's on your side and what kind of number they are, because you could be a 5 seed and you come up against a really not great, you know what I mean? 1 seed that you match up favorably with or something of the sort. So I think no matter what number you are, 6 above is what I'm gonna say, because 7, 8, 9 we know is not really, that's the 8, 9 is the worst place to be. So I think anything 6 or above, you're really now just wanting to know what your matchups are and where you're seeding, not seeding, who is in your bracket, who's in your region. At that point, that's all that matters. Because again, you could come up against a hell of a 2 seed, a hell of a 3 seed. You really don't know, or a bad matchup at the 3 seed. So that's all that really matters at that point.
Are we at Sweet 16 or bust?
Oh no. I mean, I don't think if they go, here's the deal. If they go and lose in the second round, there should be a lot of happy people and proud people for Jan getting them back there, getting past the first round, because there's a good chance they're not favored in that second round game. So
correct,
because they're likely going to be a 6, so they're going to be playing a 3 seed. I don't think it's 3 seed or bust. I mean, what if they go win the conference tournament, Bert, and then they go lose in the second round? How would you? I think the Big Ten tournament means something. The Hawks would love to 3-peat. I don't know that it's reasonable to expect them to beat Ohio State, UCLA, and USC, the 3 best teams in the conference, in 3 days after winning these last 2. But I don't know that you can say where this program's at right now with Jan Jensen, first-year head coach, that Sweet 16 or bust. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, no, definitely not. Where she's at, it's been awesome where she's got them so far. Sweet 16 or bust, just based on the seeding I think they've earned right now, is just it's great to look at it that way. If they won the Big Ten tournament, I would think maybe, possibly a 4 seed. Definitely a 5.
5. I don't know if they get to a 4, but again, I'm no bracketologist. We need to get Charlie Cream of ESPN over here. But Bert, we appreciate you calling in, sir. And if you've never called in before, don't be a stranger to the show. We enjoyed it.
Love it. Love you guys. Listen to you all the time. Thank you.
Appreciate it, sir. All right. Jen is reminding everybody to
hit the like button.
Hit the like button. We got about 700 people here at 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern. So hit the like button. Right, Kachine? Hit the like. The louder we
talk. It's not hard,
y'all.
I promise. Please.
Somebody said here they wanted to donate to the Kachine Caffeine Fund. How about that? The Kachine Caffeine.
Chris, listen. This move been kicking my behind. But you know what? It's all right.
I think our last caller dropped off, so we're just going to go quick fire on this chat, and we'll wrap things up and tell everybody we'll be back tomorrow. Steve says, when was the last time Iowa women lost a game in March? That's a great question. It has to be 2022. Yeah, I think you're right, because
2 years ago.
And they've won the last 2 Big Ten tournaments, made it to the national championship each year. It's nuts how many games they've played in the postseason. Stacy says Leah Guyton was on a podcast recently, or AJ, I don't know which one you're talking about, Stacy, but one of the Guytons was on a podcast saying that loyalty was missing and players should trust their process, and their coaches don't think she's planning to transfer. And Eric, thank you. I love hearing these comments. It's Corey's show. He'll talk about what he wants to, and I haven't brought up the Mavs tonight, and I probably won't the rest of the season because it's a sore subject. Kachine, please tell me you have some level of compassion and sympathy for people like me, please. After everything that has happened,
it sucks to be you.
The franchise has been absolutely ripped from under us.
Devastated.
In literally a matter of months. They've taken everything away, going from a finals team to this. So, Ask a Bum, great effort. Not like Michigan State had a bad night. Hawks were just a better team. Brian brings up the 2-footers. Hannah missed some bunnies there early, and we've talked about her inability to make layups at times. Kachine, man, she missed some layups early.
Can we just not? Just like we don't need to talk about the Mavs. I don't even want to talk about Hannah layups no more. Next.
Okay, next. Let's go to the next one. Amanda says, to whoever was sending Peyton Sandford death threats, check. He's a college student. This is a game. Get right with yourself and probably Jesus. Who on earth was sending people really sending Peyton Sandford death threats? Are you kidding?
Sending athlete death threats need to be in a mental institution because, like I said before,
I agree.
It's not that serious.
Or just jail. One of the two.
Like, my God.
Yeah, Bob. Yes, the Michigan State men scored 61 in the second half against the men today. Yikes. Timothy. Cash, do you ever feel like a lot of people coach the game after the fact? You don't know how people will play until they do. You still need to give your player a semblance of routine and rhythm.
I don't know if I get that question.
People coach in hindsight. Hindsight's 2020. Is that a fair point?
Oh yeah, for sure. Everything is hindsight is 2020.
Yeah. Sam wants to know how much you think Ohio State will be favored by tomorrow. I'm guessing that line might be already out. I can check this. Do you have any idea?
None. I don't really gamble or any of those things. So I pay attention to none of that. Because you know my motto, on any given night. So anybody's game. I don't know. Especially in March.
I don't know. Let me just see if there's anything. I'm not seeing anything early. There might be a line somewhere out there. But again, I'm not a gambler either. So I don't pay too much. I pay more attention to it on the football side because it's kind of fun to make my picks against the spread. But let's go here. My T-Dog says, what was going on with that net? I'm assuming they fixed that at halftime. But that is a problem, though, Kachine, because that limited Michigan State's ability to get on transition.
God, that was funny.
You seen that happen before?
Maybe once in my career. It was crazy, but that's still funny, nonetheless.
Cyhawk C Money. I had a little whiskey, little bourbon. It was not Bullet, though. I don't know what it was. It wasn't Elijah Craig. It wasn't Four Roses. I don't.
Okay, question though.
Yes.
Was Lisa Bluter really on TV last game drinking a beer?
Yes. She was drinking a beer.
Somebody tweet me the screenshot. I know somebody got a screenshot.
Have you ever seen her?
Please tweet me the screenshot.
You ever seen her drink a beer?
Gotta have it. No, I need it. Gotta have it. Somebody send it to me. Yes,
sure
please.
Okay. Circle Herc says, I think it should be a rule that every Iowa women's basketball postgame host and Collins appear on camera to have to wear Snuggies PJ party after a Hawkeye victory. So that's an interesting one. David brings up the spirited comments that Tom Izzo made after the win over Avery's team, that Iowa men, they have less
they wanted to get rid of him a couple years ago. And now look at him. He winning Big Ten championships and whatnot.
Yeah, that may be true. I still stand by. I think the program needs a reset. So
something need to happen. I don't know what, but something.
All right, folks. Final comment is from Stavros. Super chat. Stavros. We very much appreciate that. Hannah has to develop as a 4 next year. Another year and a half, the team out of position or deeper on the depth chart.
Can you imagine?
Take another year. I see what you're saying.
That's all I kept thinking today. Was like, man, a Hannah who has a full summer and a Ava Heiden in the summer knows what to expect every game now. confidence through the roof. Like, oh, that 4-5 combo sounds fun. Anyways.
Yeah, I agree. I do think there's going to be we're going to have these conversations after the season's over.
Mhm.
But I do think there are questions at guard that have to be resolved because I don't
I
know.
can agree.
I don't know that Aaliyah Guyton is the answer. I do think she's got a bright future. I think the same thing about Taylor Strimlo, but she's been up and down. I don't know that she's a true guard. She's more of an undersized 3/4.
Somebody said they tagged me. Hold on, I gotta go look. Go ahead.
On the Bud Light post, it was a Bud Light.
Yeah.
Amanda tagged you, she says. So Stavros, thank you so much for that donation. And folks, if you're able, can you send that to me too? I need to just you tag me as well.
Oh yeah.
But send that to me, would you?
That is funny.
I saw it in live game action, but people were talking about it yesterday. Okay, folks, if you're able to make a donation and you're so inclined, you can do so a couple different ways. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, of course, also Super Chat. And if you're interested in sponsorship, you can reach out to me, info@fromthehawkeyeofthestorm.com. The screen is really great.
I was gonna say, I sent it to you. That's my head coach right there.
I got it. I'll share it on the screen real quick.
That's my head coach right there. Oh my God.
Folks, remember, check out RTI Threads. Owen Freeman, Peyton Sanford, Josh Dix, all featured on RTIthreads.com/RTI. Man, it's getting late. /NIL. RTIthreads.com/NIL. And you can browse all the merchandise. And while we're at it, I'll just show you a quick shot of the website. This is their official NIL line, apparel line. And as you can see, a bunch of Hawkeye players, including basketball players, football players, and an entire Swarm baseball line. And this is how you can support Rick Heller's crew. And, of course, Kyle Huesmann, HawkeyeReport.com, doing a lot of work with the baseball team. But you can support the cause through the Swarm and RTIthreads.com, or you can customize your Hawkeye player gear and support the individual athletes on the individual program you want to support. Again, Aaron Graves, Zach Lutmer, Peyton Sanford, Owen Freeman, Josh Dix. Go down the list. Again, the website is RTIthreads.com. Use the /NIL. All right. I think that's it. To everybody for being here late, thank you. And yeah, I don't know
that's
what else.
The definition of in heaven there is no beer.
You wanted me to. We wanted to share that.
That is the greatest thing I have seen.
Let's just
okay.
Real quick.
So, listen, my girl says she is retired. Okay.
All right. Here's the official post yesterday from Hawkeye Historian on.
We win tomorrow. I'm going to retweet it, and it's just going to say, "In heaven there is no beer." That's why. That's what I'm going to retweet, and I'm going to say that. Oh my God! I just love that.
That is great. Okay, folks. For Kachine Alexander, I'm Corey Brada from the Hawkeye of the Storm. We've got live post-game coverage tomorrow night. Hawkeyes and Buckeyes. It's another 8 p.m. Central Time tip on Big Ten Network. Post-game coverage live right here after the game. Kachine, sleep well, and we hope to talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.